Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, joined by Phil for a very special spoiler discussion. It's, of course, The Mandalorian, Season 3, Episode 1, Chapter 17 of the series. I like going by chapter titles. That's, you don't do S03, EO1 like a lot of the stuff. But we're back with spoiler discussions. The Mandalorian has returned. But before we get into anything like that, Phil, lovely to see you. And how are you doing tonight?
And you, my friend, and you. No, not doing too bad. It's been a long time coming. We've waited to come back for this. Of course, you guys haven't been watching Bad Batch yet, but so much to talk to you about that when you do finally watch it. But we got Mando after quite a sizable gap between Boba Fett and Season 3 of Mando.
Yeah, I mean, with Mandalorian itself, not Mandalorian, sorry, Bad Batch, I believe they're up to episode 11, are they now?
Yeah, just over halfway through. Yeah.
So, if anyone curious, we will be doing a Bad Batch review when it's finished. We're not doing a weekly, of course, and I'll probably start watching them when The Last of Us finishes, get it binged, and that should work out timing-wise. But it's an exciting time to be a fan of Star Wars. We've got a Star Wars celebration in just under a month. You yourself are off to Chicago for the X-Wing Championships, which will plug your social medias as well at the end. So we can get people to follow Phil on there. And, of course, you'll be with us at Celebration. The legend missing tonight, Dave, is unfortunately down with COVID. So we're wishing him well in his recovery. He might pop up in the comments, but he has seen the episode, which is great. Because it was that initial fear of, have we all seen it? It's like the old messages.
It's the old days, yeah. It's like, wait, who's watched it? Who hasn't?
Yeah, exactly that. And kind of heading into that, we want to hear from people that are watching this at home. If you've seen tonight's episode, please do comment your thoughts on The Mandalorian. These are spoiler discussions. You can say what you want. Spoiler related, of course. Bring them up in the chat. If you're watching it live, we'll bring them up. If you're watching it in the future and we're not live, drop a comment. We'll reply to them. We'll maybe bring up stuff next week if you want us to. And just what you want to see from us with the series. It's felt like so long since I've had a Mandalorian thing, and I'm kind of going to get into that begin with it, is how far it's been. But as I do hit that subscribe button, we'll be going live every Wednesday. Timing-wise, we're not locked in like The Last of Us. Maybe it will switch each week, but I won't lie. Tonight was because the Arsenal game was on at 7:45. So that's why it was a case of this. And also, I didn't go to the game because of this. So that's on me, because I could have had a ticket today, but it might have been a bit too short notice. But as always, if you want to get involved, if you want to follow us to find out about other videos, other things coming up, go grab us on social media. Twitter and Instagram at cinema_savvy. Facebook and letterboxd.com/cinemasavvy. A link to Redbubble in that description below. But if we start getting into things, as we said, chapter 17, Phil, take us back. For people that haven't, obviously, of course, you're on Andor Kenobi with us. I can't remember if you did some Book of Boba Fett. I feel like you might. There's been so much, but so little at the same time. I think compared to Marvel, little. What are your thoughts, just quickly, on the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian? And then I guess Book of Boba Fett, if we're going to really go into the Mandoverse as we call it now.
Of course, Mando being the live action TV show, it was a very big deal. I remember, of course, you were out actually in Chicago in 2017 for Celebration. The first kind of rumblings were going on. And we didn't know what was coming, didn't know how it was going to be perceived. It was a very big deal. Of course, we'd all seen the leaks from the failed TV show that, thank God, never got made, because that looked rather ropey. But of course, we're like, right, this is going to be very interesting. Of course, all the first trailers, of course, there was nothing about Grogu in it. It was just Mando. Then, of course, you then roll into it, and it was a very nervous time going into it. Going, okay, this is new ground. We've had the Clone Wars and Rebels and the animated shows. That's fine. That you can definitely tell Star Wars through long form in animated form, but how does it translate into live action, knowing what we have from the films throughout the years? Of course, this time, but by that point, we'd only ever had we had Rogue One, so we'd had 7 and Rogue One. We hadn't had 8 yet.
Should have been out yet, I think.
Solo, maybe.
Yeah, This started filming just as I started my old job, because I was gutted, because I was working at Pinewood. And this new show has started, being done by Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, starring Pedro, Pascal, and Carl Weathers. I was like, why is it in America for? It's been here, and I guess that is quite an interesting fact. It's the first of the Disney era Star Wars to shoot in America live action. Obviously, there's been loads since that shot over there. Of course, the other seasons of Mandalorian, Kenobi shot there, Acolytes shooting here, Skeleton Crew. That was America, right? No, actually, I'm not sure where was Skeleton Crew. That is here, isn't it? I feel like there's another live action thing I'm missing, which is really obvious that wasn't America, but maybe not. Maybe a Book of Boba Fett.
I think Boba Fett, and I think they were going to do Rangers of the New Republic was going to be in America as well, but obviously that got canned for reasons we'll get into later in the episode. Actually, I'm kind of glad they've kind of tied the loop up. We'll get to that when we get to that. But no, of course, it was fantastic to see it come. Then the first season of Mandalorian, especially when we saw afterwards, especially saw the volumes, especially when we saw what had gone into making it, it blew our minds. And it was fantastic to see, but also it was a good, very good storytelling. We got the different directors. We were worried about where it was going to go, but you had, of course, Bryce Dallas Howard making her directorial debut with the third episode with the ATST doing very Jurassic Park things, but they're still fantastic to watch. And yeah, absolutely loved it. Of course, then we've had Series 2, Book of Boba Fett. Now, Book of Boba Fett is for me, and it's only because it's the others so high, it's the weak link of the live action so far. And that's not because I dislike the show. I actually really enjoy the show. There's just pieces of it that they could have done differently or better. I think they definitely should have had all the flashbacks and then told the current story. That would have been better. And of course, you had Mandalorian 2.5 in there as well, which was, I think that was the only mistake they made. It would have been fantastic to have maybe that could have come as a one shot afterwards, like a little holiday special kind of thing, without it being a holiday special, taking the horrible time away there for Star Wars. But apart from that, it was absolutely fantastic. Of course, Dave Filoni is the protege for George Lucas and Star Wars, of course, to help the Clone Wars, then transition to Rebels in here. And Jon Favreau, we already knew what great stuff he'd done with Marvel, to then bring it to Mando is fantastic to see. So then brings us to where we are now. We've had a really healthy gap. We've had over a year with no Mando, no Boba Fett, no nothing. It's just been, okay, we now have to wait. And I actually think it's done it the world of good to have that kind of anticipation again.
Yeah, and kind of what's been great is about Andor. Now, I've seen so many things online, and I disagree with a lot of it. So some articles went up, and it's like, why Mandalorian needs to be more like Andor. I'm sat there saying, listen, Andor is one of the best live-action things we've ever had in Star Wars. It is a treat. It's beautiful. It's perfect. The beauty of Star Wars is how different Star Wars can be. A New Hope is nothing like Empire in the sense of tone and story and storytelling, character development. One's very traditional, the other's let's move this forward. And I hate those things like people have to have them compete. Now, naturally, you want to compare them. People are going to enjoy things more than others. Prequel trilogy is completely different to the original trilogy. That was a big criticism at the time. Now it's the thing that they love for it. So it's really interesting seeing things online. And I think The Mandalorian, what it is as a show, what it's done as a show for Star Wars, for Disney, let's not hide from anything right now. The Mandalorian is by a country mile the biggest show on TV since Game of Thrones. It's not had a season in 2 years. Have you not seen anything Mandalorian on the shelf for 2 years anywhere? No. It is in there with pop culture. And, if there's a reason Disney Plus launched with The Mandalorian, look at Pedro Pascal's career that's followed it since. Look at what this cast has started doing. Look at the directors who have come on board, who maybe started with an episode here, or they're like Rick Famuyiwa today. Episode 2 he did of season 1, and I think episode 6. And now he's one of the executive producers of the show, and he's directed 3 episodes this season, including episodes 1, 7, and 8, which tends to tell you that he is the key for this series. And I just think it's amazing what The Mandalorian is doing. I'm with you on Book of Boba Fett. I like Book of Boba Fett. There's certain things I didn't like. There's some stuff I really enjoyed. My opinion 1 year later is probably that maybe they rushed out that show. Maybe they needed a big overseeing of that script. I know it's got its fans. I'm not there to sort of diss that at all, but it does stand out. I think at the same time, it makes it harder because it's set in the Mandalorian universe. But the Mandalorian is the Mandalorian. He has eclipsed Boba Fett. I know people are going to be angry about that, but I certainly think the Mandalorian within 3 years has been bigger than Boba Fett in his 40+ years, and that's going to make a lot of people upset.
It'll make an awful lot of people upset. But Boba Fett is cool, badass, but not. Mando's different. It's just a very different way of looking at things. Of course,
it's if Boba Fett was done today, which is what the concept of the show was. This was the stories that Jon Favreau had when he was younger about Boba Fett, and he puts it in someone new. And I love them for it. I think it works so much better. I know we're technically not talking about The Mandalorian, but segueing into the Mando episode within Book of Boba Fett, that's been brought up a lot this week. Jon Favreau, I think, spoke about it. He's been horrendously misquoted in an article that's gone viral, claiming that, Grogu was with Luke for years. He never said that. I don't know why this has become a thing. You read the article, it's not that at all.
No.
Very typical sensationalism from outlets, and this sort of frustrates me. Obviously, we don't get to do interviews often. Not that we'd get an interview like that scale at all ever. But you see people get their chance and they just blow it looking for clickbait crap.
For sure.
If you could have that discussion with them about their projects, about the technology, it'd be so much different. And heading into, say, what the Mandalorian has become. And I don't disagree with the Mandalorian in Boba Fett, but I'm with you on there. Like what Marvel's had with these special not the one shots, but the special features. If you'd have had like a Mandalorian 2.5, a one-off episodes, it would have been perfect. It would have teased the season moving forward. We got his ship, we got him back with Baby Yoda.
They could have quite happily had it sat between Kenobi and Andor in terms of the actual programming. Just literally just a one-off. Had one off. You've had Andor, you've had Kenobi. Here's your little bit in the middle. Of course, Kenobi then Andor. But the thing is, though, also going back to what you mentioned earlier, that everything fits within the Mandoverse, but they compare it to Andor as, it should be more like Andor. Well, no, Andor fits in the original trilogy universe the same way that Kenobi fits within the prequel era universe. It has its flavors, its tones, its subtleties, its literal nods. Each piece has to fit into its era. And the thing is with Star Wars, it is set over. I mean, if you just take the original trilogy, the prequels all the way through to the sequels, you're talking about a 60-year gap. So you would literally have generations involved. So each particular era has to have its own feel. That's why you can't have it feel like this, because if you watched, I'm not going to spoil anything for season 2 of Bad Batch for you, but you start to see it turn from the prequels into the original trilogy era. You start to see the Empire's boot coming down and the change that's happening. And you needed those tones. Whereas Mandalorian, we come back to it. We're going to go into the episode, obviously, shortly, but it brought you what I loved actually. They always do these little recaps just to kind of catch people up, and it sets for this one actually I felt is so good because it was a very quick, very short one, but it set your mind back into we are now back into this era, we're now back into this feel for Star Wars. And I have to say they crammed so much in without it feeling like they crammed things in, if that makes sense.
No, I'm with you that, and I think the cramming of things is the key word here. And I know a lot of people have lambasted the gap between seasons. It's worked perfectly. It's
Healthy.
Season 3. It's not. I don't like doing the whole oversaturated. It's not saturated. Blah blah blah. They have had the gap filled very well. Book of Boba, Kenobi gets some prequel content. Andor, no one expected that to be as good as it was. Compliments everywhere deserved for that. I know that that's going to get pushed for the Emmys to the max this year. And I think Mandalorian is the king. Yeah, and Mandalorian is the kingpin of Star Wars at the moment. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I've said this to people for so long that my own 2 cents, and people don't like this. If I was Disney, if I was Bob Iger, Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, Favreau, Filoni, whoever you want it to be, end the Mandoverse with a film, and I guarantee you, tomorrow morning, that film makes $2 billion. And I'm not going to get into the politics of Disney at the moment, but they are reverting. There's going to be a lot less Disney Plus stuff. Bob Iger's returned. The real politics is that you actually can't make money off a streaming site, especially funding your own content. Look at Netflix not ever making a profit. And Bob Iger's going to steady the ship. He spoke about he wants Star Wars back on the big screen. He said that immediately. Second call of action was telling Marvel, less TV shows, you're doing way too many. We can't afford it. Their box office numbers are dwindling. When the time comes to end the Mandalorian film, do a film, everyone will go. You do not need to, you don't need to do a trailer. Everyone will go. If the Mandalorian ends with the Mandoverse with a big film, a humongous team up, you name it.
Yep.
All you need is
end card, date. No trailer, just here.
And
go.
And also, people are overreacting that Favreau said in an interview yesterday, I haven't planned the ending. Even if he has planned the ending, he's not going to tell it you promoting season 3. No. One of the best shows on TV at the moment, Succession. Season 4 starts in 3 weeks. They announced last week it's going to be the final season. They'd already shot it, done it, finished it. They didn't need to tell you that before. They just mentioned it. Now it's the final season. You don't need to say it 3 seasons ago, and that's something TV as a whole struggles with. But enough about non-Mandalorian.
Whereas Andor was a case of, here you go, you're getting 2 seasons done.
And we've told you the final scene. And guess what? We've already shown you the ending because it was in the film 7 years ago.
And they've already made a sequel to it as well, which was made even longer ago. But anyway, we're getting sidetracked here.
Yes, Whales in space. Let's go.
Woo! Yes, let's talk
So,
about that.
the way we'll do these spoiler discussions, people, if you've not done them before, the way we've done them, certainly with Kenobi, with Andor, how we've done them the last year or two, we're going to go through the big moments from the episode. We're not going to go through every line, every one-liner. We'll go into the key scenes, and then that's where our natural chat's going to take us. Anything we miss, comment it, bring it up. If you're watching live, let us know. Dave mentioned Wales in space, sorry. That was the one thing that spoiled for me, I'm not going to lie. I was in the office today, so normally this used to air on a Friday when I work at home. So I'd always have it. Well, you knew this, Phil. I'd have it on at 8 a.m. on the dot, whilst I'm working, and then I'd finish work for the day, rewatch it with my dad in the evening, then do the videos. This series, it's going to be me watching it once before a live stream, which is a bit frustrating, but it's understandable. Maybe if I get time, I'll do it twice, but we'll know later on. But the first scene, turtle, alligator, giant fighting Mandalorians on a beach. I thought, and I'm going to assume a lot of people did this, I thought this was going to be a flashback to begin with, unless I'm incredibly
100%. I thought the same thing.
Yep. And then and then as the fight carried on, I was like, this is a lot of time for a flashback. Like, there's a lot of continuity for a flashback here. And then you hear the N1 Starfighter. The sound of the childhood. Alas, the prequel generation rises. But as far as an opening scene goes, it was like a smaller scale chapter 9, right? That we had the incredible episode 1 from season 2. But this was it's the Mandalorian and Grogu. It's the adventure. They're back. Great action scene. Looks amazing. Just got to make one more dig at Ant-Man. The volume stagecraft technology, which I will tell everyone again right now, it has only looked good on the Mandalorian and the Batman. Why is that? The Batman, Greg Fraser, is the cinematographer. He literally created this technology with Lucasfilm. And you see that Peyton Reed with Ant-Man 3, who worked on the Mandalorian, looked terrible in Ant-Man. Taika Waititi, who worked on the Mandalorian, the volume looked terrible on Thor: Love and Thunder. It is a tech that right now is perfectly designed for these guys. And I love Kenobi, and it did look very good during Kenobi. I know that COVID played its part in that series being different to what it would have been on location. For a fact, it would have shot a pilot, not in America. It still looks great, but it didn't look as good as the Mandalorian. And I was a bit nervous heading back into this, but all that Andor discourse, that Andor's the peak, less volume, more of this really boring, repetitive stuff. Opening scene looked amazing. I'm sat here with and I'm not good. I don't like doing the sort of the big thing, but 50-inch 4K TV, Dolby Atmos sound, proper setup. I've spent years making sure I've got a setup. That's something I put my own time and my own income into. That was worth the wait from watching it in the office. On just a standard on a monitor with a headset in. And I've just got to say that any worry I might have thought in the back of my mind was gone in the opening scene. It looked bloody fantastic, and it looked better than that $200 million piece of shit that Marvel released last week.
Yeah, I mean, I play D&D. There's a huge ass creature in that called a Tarask, and I had the vibes of it's very much a party is in trouble, big ass savior comes in, everything is fine at the end. Kind of vibe to it in a very good way. I thought it was absolutely fantastic opening, and as you said, you got the sound of the N1, both the engines, of course, the plasma torps as well. It's just a fantastic way to bring you back into it. Here is a setup for Mando's arc for season 3. It's a big action scene to kind of whet your appetite for what's to come, but it all serves a purpose, and it's fantastic. Also, though, I agree. I also had that same initial feeling of, this is a flashback. I'm like, no, this is dragging on a bit too much to be a flashback. And then this isn't a flashback. This is current. And then, here it sets it up. But it's it's not jarring anyway. It's a case of, it shows the Mandalorians are still, the children of the Watch are still going. They're now recruiting again. They're kind of trying to come back as they are. And it plays its part in the show. But it also, it's a good way to set up because, as we said, it's been a while. It's good to come back to it. Soft opening, as it were. Here's a bit of action. And then important here is, to be fair, I still find it quite funny that Emily Suarez's character, the armorer, can literally turn and say, you're not a Mandalorian, when he literally wields a darksaber. It's like, no, he's pretty much your king, but I get where you're coming from. but it carries on. The continuity picks up immediately. Of you took your helmet off, you're not one of us. If you want to go and try and redeem yourself, you're welcome to. But that place is just dead. Because, well, I have this class, and then it kind of sets it up. It's like, here we go.
No, I'm with you. Sorry, I'm just chatting in a group chat about Mandalorian. So everyone's talking about the film stuff as well. The opening, you mentioned the armor of MS1, and this is something I've kind of, when the show started, I was very hesitant with her as a character. I was like, it's just cool. This is the way, female in the armor. We've not seen it before. And I love the fact that this enigma has just continued. And now we're here years later, and we're just having normal scenes with her. And it's great because that kind of character could quite easily become tiresome, and they've avoided it so well. And then again, that goes back to other seasons where we get not necessarily character development, but the screen presence that she brings to the series, the lore she brings, not to Mandalorian, a terrible pun, but the mythology and the lore that goes within their world and what they're building with this religion. In turn, getting Bo-Katan, we'll speak about at the end. They're building up this incredible division within Mandalore that we didn't get too much of in the Clone Wars. Not what obviously was the Clone Wars with what the name's the terrorist group. What I mean.
Oh, Death Watch.
It's not a division like Death Watch taking over. This is clearly something happened after Rebels, and this cult that's existed from it, as of today, is clearly responsible for in part of Mandalore self-imploding on itself. So, not itself imploding, but of course we know what happened with I almost said Gus from Breaking Bad. Of course, Giancarlo Esposito, Moff Gideon. Yep. I'm sure we know will return at some point, and that I cannot wait for. Dave, the young Mando helmets, the voice changer toys with the big visors. Yes.
Yes, they do.
We all had them as kids. We all had one of them. If you didn't, you're lying to yourself. And
I didn't, but I wanted one.
The back to the volume thing, it didn't look like it was in the volume even when it was. And this is it. It is designed to assist the actors, the performers, with shooting their scenes. It is a tool for the directors, for the visual effects artists to get properly paid and do the visual effects. There's no coincidence that the Star Wars visual effects, even say what you want about any of the last 10 years worth of Star Wars films, the technical side of things has been flawless in all of those films. And this is the difference of them and Marvel.
And without getting into George Lucas's original mantra.
Exactly. And and again, it all comes down to how do you use this technology, and they have just absolutely nailed it from start to end. And like Andor, it is great to see practical sets. No one's saying we don't want practical sets, but in turn, it doesn't mean you don't use it. And I love that Andor did the final middle finger, which was, we actually did use some of the volume, mainly for the walls to replace the green screens, but we still used it just in a different way, which is great. So, I don't want to bring it too much, but I feel like it's going to be a social media thing every week, which is going to just do my head in. But kind of going with the opening, do we want to talk about the Baby Yoda pop-up? Like, obviously, it's the perfect intro to bring us back into things. The cockpit's empty, but we know Baby Yoda. It's so weird calling him Baby Yoda still, because we know it's Grogu, so I'm still figuring out. But Baby Yoda, it's almost the same amount of syllables. It's just, it's been in your head a lot longer. But again, as an introductory scene goes, to bring us back into it, again, these haven't been around for a couple of years. I think they nailed it. And if you're not in at the end of that opening scene, then you're not going to be in at all, are you?
No.
But let's move on. Let's talk. I think this is where I've had a lot of hype. So I'm currently rewatching the Rocky films just to plug the Rocky 4K reviews. And obviously Apollo Creed is in the first four. In this, we're talking about Nevarro now. I should have introduced that part first, but going back to Nevarro, what they have done with Carl Weathers in this show across 3 seasons, I am in love with it. It feels when season 1 came out, we'd joke as like an RPG, right? You'd do a level, you'd get your armor upgrade, you'd go back, you'd go on a side mission and come back, blah blah blah. Nevarro kind of feels, and this isn't the game thing, but this is where I'm sort of hate playing it. Nevarro, like a game, like this, we've gone forward another year. It's like this city is now even better. We're now like the front of our sectors for international trade. And when Apollo Creed's walking out with robots that are lifting a cape for him, things are going very well indeed. And it's that kind of minuscule detail
high, but
I
straight
love.
to you.
Yeah, and it's just entertaining, and it's something like, again, you go back to George Lucas's Star Wars. That's the sort of thing George Lucas would have done.
Yeah, 100%.
Having droids carry someone's cape because he doesn't want it to touch the floor.
Yep.
I thought it was amazing, and just going back to Nevarro, seeing how they've developed a planet, developed the city, the story within that, even the pirates coming into it. You know, we used to drink here. This wasn't the school. This was this. This was that. It's these smaller details that build it more. And I think the best shows, and kind of drawing a parallel to The Last of Us in a very different way, The Last of Us is the level of quality it is because of the supporting characters alongside Joel and Ellie. I know you're not watching at the moment, so I'm not going to go into spoilers, but like this, Carl Weathers has been a very good, not ally, but as a supporting role. We want more of him. He's directed episodes. I think he's directing another episode at some point of this series as well, actually, now it's been said.
Episodes.
But what were your thoughts on going back to Nevarro? Because I know it's evolved, but I think that makes it better in universe, right?
We have jumped over Purgle. We'll get back to the Purgle in a little bit. But yeah, no, going back to Nevarro is again another way to touch base where we are in the Mandoverse at this point in terms of the timeline, but also it's fantastic to see, but also it ties in again all these little pieces. And to have the statue IG 11, to have even just to go to the office where you have Grogu literally using the Force to spin around the chair because he can, because he's still a child, it's it's very endearing. And of course, Carl Weathers is a fantastic actor anyway. To have him still play off Mando, especially with the, you'd be landed gentry here. It's kind of like, I want you to be my officer here. I need you to come and sort out the riffraff. And it's you go back to that very first episode, it is a vastly different place, but still the same.
Yeah.
And that's the key. Like the school is what the big example of that. The fact that he's taken, as you said, he gets rid of the scum and villainy, which of course harks back to episode 4 with Obi-Wan talking about Mos Eisley. The fact he's kicked out the scum and the villainy, he's kind of changed it for the better. He's taken what was his world but flawed and made it into his world for the better, while still going, we don't want the New Republic, we don't want the government, we want to be the first truly independent system out here.
Apollo Creed's planet. It's his planet. Like, he's done the ultimate. It's like a junior empire. I'm joking. Yeah. He's not, but and I think, but that's what we want though, because one criticism the show has had, it jumps around too much. I've got no problem with that. It's like a Saturday morning cartoon in a great way. It's in chapters, for God's sake. It's meant to be done like that. What I've loved is people talking about their favorite episodes. It's an episodic series.
I mean, have you ever picked up a book that was 100% linear from start to finish?
Exactly, but also you think not Biff and Chip. That's really fair. But again, it's when it's going to be different every week. This is that on an extreme budget. Look at stuff like Clone Wars. That yes, we'd get a story arc and we get episodes within this, but it's episodic. It's different adventures every week. It's telling the same overarching story of a Clone War, but ultimately you're following different bands of people every week. And the Mandalorian is following him within his struggle with the galaxy. Yes, there's a bigger picture in place. Of course, there's First Order in the background or emerging slowly, all that sort of stuff that is probably going to get developed more and more. We've got side stories. We've got the Ahsoka series happening. We've got Skeleton Crew happening. We've had the Book of Boba Fett happen. There's still a galaxy in play, but we're following these two above us, Mandalorian and Grogu. And it is a duo now. I know the show's the Mandalorian, but it is a double act. They're the marketing. They're the team. Whether that was planned from day one, we'll never know. But it is the fact is that sometimes you have to evolve TV as TV is. When things get too big, you evolve it. Things don't work, you change it. They nailed it from the get-go. And I think they've done the right thing in this approach. And this is why we're still going back to people like Carl Weathers. And if we want to get into that trickier side of a conversation, Cara Dune was brought up today.
Marshall Dune was brought up, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not going to get into the politics of it. We all had that chat many years ago, etc., etc. You can do your research. People are making a big deal that she's alive. I did see one amazing meme. Are you aware of the Simpsons joke? Is like Hoochie can't get back to his home planet. He died on the way.
Yeah.
The joke I saw is because they tried that, but Alderaan was already destroyed, wasn't it? So there's no planet to go back to. What I would say, we will never see that character again.
No, but they tied the arc up nicely. It's the most respectful way of doing it. There's no
brought in Moff.
So go on.
she brings him off Gideon. She's doing her own thing now. We know there was going to be a show. The actress has cocked it up herself. That show's not happening. I'm going to be really honest. Rangers of the New Republic was not something I was excited for. I hate the name. I love Buzz Lightyear as a character. Rangers of the Toy Story world would have been a better film than Lightyear, if I'm being honest, from last year. Different conversation. But I think they handled it very well. A couple of lines passing here or there. They're not just pretending the character didn't exist. They're not pretending it doesn't still exist. I doubt there's anything being filmed. We know that ourselves, but they handled it fine. Enough for everyone to move on.
The way they handled it to me was respectful. It was a case of very much, even when the drama happened, everyone involved was a case of, we respect the fact you have your own opinions. You have fucked up. You've been given a chance to apologize. You haven't. That's fine. But we respect you for having your own voice. That's fine. We're just going to cut the professional ties. And the show felt it was very much handling that in a similar vein of, she has done good. She did good as a character. She's done good for the show. She's done good for the universe. And in that respect, she has done good things with Moff Gideon, but she's now too busy doing her own thing. It's very much the most respectful way they can handle it, but also a way of handling it without handling. There's no drama. There's no fuss. It was just a very quick, here's a simple line. Now we know the character's doing done. And that's something, again, you see handled well in good TV shows and films and books. Hard to do so in films, but more so in TV and books or audio, whatever format you want to choose. When a character is no longer necessary, they are put to one side. I mean, actually, the best way to look at it is look at Boba Fett. Boba Fett was a character that was just around, happened to be cool. They went, okay, we want to do more with him. Yeah. We could bring him in, take him out, do it nice, and they did it nice and simple. And this was a fantastic way of handling that. But also then harking back, as I said, you've got IG-11 on Nevarro as well. You've got the Azalians, which is just one of the most hilarious scenes of the entire show so far. And it's like, seeing Mando cramped in a tiny shop where everything's in perspective, everything looks normal, and then you see him just like crouched in on the floor. Yeah, absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it.
And again, I know we've got it tagged into talk by the end, but they were all over the marketing. And this episode itself, if we just even jump to this now, almost the entirety of the trailers was in this episode today. And we spoke before about live that normally, you know, we've come onto these shows. Most things have been shown from episodes 1, 2, or 3. And nothing too much, nothing too little. They've been very careful with spoilers. We'd do an episode, we'd be like, that's all the trailer footage done, guys. Now we're into the unknown. I feel like we're almost into the unknown after one episode. That almost 100%. Everything was used, and I didn't expect it. And to me, that's a welcome surprise. And it also shows they are choosing to show episode 1. And as far as an overarching story is concerned, today's episode, it isn't a let's get going again. It's and now we're back. And if you're watching this in the scheme of everything, last episode, technically in Book of Boba Fett, is a massive part. He gets Grogu back. He gets his ship. You need the calm down. And I think they delivered with this for an opening episode. It's starting to set things up. We're starting to move again, but we're just bringing it back into the fold. Here's the characters from before. Here's the situation he's in. Here's his relationship with Grogu. And it's a really smart way to do it. 35-minute long, probably 30 minutes if you take aside the credits, because they're longer on Disney Plus. And I know Carl, who commented, had spoken on the group chats and said, is that too short? I think I said at the time, it depends on what they do. And I think the one thing this show has done as a credit, and this is a credit to streaming sites that you don't have on TV, you're not restricted by length. If one episode needs to be 50 minutes, it can be 50 minutes. If one episode needs to be 30 minutes, it can be 30 minutes. And The Mandalorian has delivered on that. I don't think there are any episodes that were ever too long or too short.
Well, it's what I said to you before we came live, was the fact that it felt like they crammed a lot in without feeling like they actually crammed anything in.
Yeah, it flowed. There was a natural flow to the entire episode, and kind of going with the Nevarro stuff. I mean, you spoke about getting the repair units. That he is being sent on the mission. He's got to, like the old, he's got to get the part to get Evans' brain. And I did sit there thinking, how are they going to do this? But I thought, you know what? I don't need to sit here and think about how and why, because he walked in Lara in season 1. I did have a very worry that they were just going to bring him back to life. I'm glad they very quickly ended that. And there's a great comedic moment with the statue of Carl Weathers crushing the face. I don't know why that was funny, but to me that was.
Well,
yeah, it was a good one-liner, and it's not too in your face. It's not a smug Star Wars. That's just natural comedy that could work. And it was very Terminator-esque. That you got the crawling on the floor, the upper body. That's probably
What I love though was
intentional.
the shot just before that, where you had the statue. It was just like half a statue now, like one arm with a blast in the air and legs, and that was it. It was just
But that's it. And again, it shows development that although he died, the robot, obviously Mandalorian, I trust one droid and it's dead, so that droid has to come back to life. That's still his character arc. You got Grief Karga, who clearly knows IG is responsible for them all being alive. That's why there's going to be a statue for him in the public. And I think it's a great way of what they're doing with this and kind of where it goes. We spoke about the bit of the pirates. And again, it's very, I always call it very animated, which is a weird thing because we're so, I would say, not used to seeing how do I describe it? When we've had characters we've seen in animated form for years, the jump to live action is always not weird. Takes a bit of getting used to for a couple of seconds.
Cad Bane being a good example.
Yeah, but Cad Bane's actually, when it's like, I guess, like the Faceless Army, right? Stormtroopers or something. Pirates for this. I kind of love seeing the different designs of them. And it's again, my brain's getting used to seeing them in live action. And I loved the scene of the drinks with the pirates and kind of stemming off that. We jump ahead to the space, which was next. It was the next scene. Like the moment they got into space, I was like, oh, here we go. Okay, we've got Pedro Pascal showing Grogu what to do. The moment we got the red dots, I was like, oh my God, we're getting the space battle in episode 1. And let's not distance our memories, guys. We had one of the best space battles, if we can even call it that, in Andor. One of the best space moments in Star Wars history. And it was just Stellan Skarsgård on an absolute mission by himself.
Yep.
And I just sat here watching this again today. Yes, I know I've got my setup. I was like, this is TV. This isn't me at the cinema watching it at home on a disc. This is TV level now. And again, it looks better than most films. And ILM don't get it wrong. Lucasfilm, Disney, they've not got it wrong. Not those visuals, not re-release awful VFX. Get your criticisms out, absolutely fine. You have issues with stories or characters, it's fine, it's respectable. But as I said earlier, you cannot fault that technical approach they have.
It's a wonderful blend of live action and like practical effects and visual effects. It's beautifully done.
Because we know that they've built the Starfighter in real life. It was at Celebration last year. That the cast are still working with it. They've got the volume behind it. It must be amazing for the actors, whether it's Pedro, we've got Brendan, Lateef Crowder, Brendan Wayne, Pedro Pascal. Both the other two finally got their co-credits today, which was great to see. Pedro Pascal shared his Instagram. We know how integral they have been to the character of the Mandalorian, and in turn of that, with Pedro shooting The Last of Us at the same time as Mando Season 3. I'm not making assumptions, but I think from what has been spoken about, this will be the season so far. He may have been on set the least, but the fact that he was been allowed to film The Last of Us and this simultaneously is incredible. He's got the two biggest shows on TV in the world, airing twice a week at the moment. Take your hat off to Pedro Pascal. Like, he is an absolute star. And it is incredible seeing his career. And I just hope it gets bigger and bigger, which I think it is. And he's just so perfect for this. But imagine them acting on that ship. You've got a practical Baby Yoda behind you. You're in the volume. You've got space. That must be insane. As an experience, that's got to be insane. And it's one of those where that battle itself, I loved how they shot it. And it's not, it wasn't just plain space. Oh, yeah, no, it looks good because it's space. There's an asteroid field, and they looked perfect. It looked better than Attack of the Clones. And I guess it should, because we're 20 plus years down the line of that technology. But the actual picking off the fighters one by one, it was the less is
more effect of just behind. All you just see is asteroid explosion, asteroid explosion, asteroid explosion, and
we got the point of view.
Crap! What's going on?
Yeah, and we got the point of view of everyone dying, which I think made it. It was so much more entertaining watching it from their perspective. To think, they're fucked, and then you realize still along, actually, it was the ploy for them to get him out of the asteroid field into the main pirate area. I got a lot of Pirates of the Caribbean vibes, I won't lie, from that weird green tentacle thing.
Properly Star Wars. Anything you watch Clone Wars, you watch Rebels, you watch Mando, it's that, here's space battle, here is bridge, here is your arch villain. Yeah. It is a
that's how it's meant to be. And it's because normally we'd get this in the animated shows, right? That we've not really had pirates or skirmishes on live action. because
I
you don't
was
have the
wondering if we
budget.
would get Hondo though. That very first time we saw the
I did
pirates
think
on
about
our,
that.
yeah.
Is he?
I was like,
I mean, I know
ooh.
he's at Galaxy Edge, so technically he's alive, right, in canon.
Mhm.
But I think if they do try that live action, that will be a very extreme jump to make. But I wouldn't be surprised at some point if they try it in one of the shows at least.
Ahsoka.
But I mean, your thoughts on the space works. I was like,
What I loved was the setup of the beautiful, like, because Mando at this point has taken his role. He goes, look, I've taken him to Luke. He didn't want to go. He's come back to me. Right, I need to train him to be a Mandalorian. He sat there in the cockpit going, right, I now got to grips with my new ship. So this is what this does, this is what this does, and this. And I kind of clocked it as soon as it's going to happen. It's like, here's your tracker, and like, here's your red dots. As a case of, like, this shouldn't be happening. We're in trouble. And it then was seamless between. It was a lovely jump between Nevarro, space, battle. It was. I don't mean that in a space battle in terms of literals. Here's one, here's the other, here's the other, in a lovely linear fashion. And the actual space battle itself was very Attack of the Clones vibes. I was wondering if they were gonna. I think it would have ruined it. At the same time, I thought I would have loved it if they'd given the N1 a seismic charge. That would have been fantastic to see. But
it would have been the moment when he's in front of all four, and I was like, is he going to make a comment wishing he had like Boba ship or something? But
yeah,
I don't think that would have worked personally. I'd have loved.
No,
you want the sound. You want to see
what
it.
I love.
You want to see it.
Get it in the trailer. You get it in. It, like to have it before, but it's nothing like when I actually see it in the show. It's the set. So I actually found if I was driving, I had X-Wing practice this evening while practicing for Worlds. And as I was driving along, I had Battle for Coruscant literally on my car. And it was as I was coming round a corner, round a car in traffic. And it was at that point, it's that same feeling where you have Mando pop up right behind one of them. And it's that feeling of just like, I have you now. It's very Star Wars and very just. It's clinical. It's Mando doing what Mando does best. And what I love, my favorite moment that's a bit of comedy, bit of works, bit of just everything, is just when he does the barrel roll and goes, nope, puts his head on hand on Grogu's head to go, you are just staying here, hold on whilst I do this. And he's being a parent, he's being a guardian, he's being a fighter, he's being everything in one at the same time. It meshes so well, and it's a fantastically shot scene. And then you get the gloriousness that is the freighter. And what I love then, going back to the Book of Boba Fett, of course, we has the whole, here's my nitrous button. Well, he usually in Star Wars, you get the whole, here's your tractor beam, here's what's going on. You are, at this point, usually you are screwed. At this point, he goes, no, story-wise, I don't have time to be here. I need to be the next chapter of the story, next part of the story. And his way out is just go, we're not doing this. Hit the button and go. And it's very much that will come back. Obviously, those pirates are not going anywhere. That will affect Nevarro. Something's going to happen. I can see that's kind of where they're going with this. He has gone, I'm out of here. They're gone, okay, fine. We will draw you back. We will make you pay by attacking the thing that you love. That's kind of the vibe I get. But it was very much here is your big space battle. Here is your Star Wars moment. And done, and we're on to the next part without it being rushed. It was it was fantastic.
Yeah, and I think that's what we want. It's episode 1. There's going to be 8 episodes. We've had, as I said, a great opening sequence. We've had a lot of dialogue, story, where we're going to go with this. Then get to your climax. And I thought, we're going to end it on the space battle. Where they're going to go next, and then moving on from that, we get Bo-Katan, which I didn't think we'd get today. I know that last night at the world premiere, they showed the first 2 episodes. That was obviously in LA at the cinema. The cast were there. And it's still mad that however many years we are in now, Disney's still so restricted because they know they don't need reviews. They don't need critics. They don't need marketing. But they're still going to show 2 episodes because they want to. I don't think we'll get anything at Celebration. We need to speak about that, didn't we? That we don't think we'll get anything Mando because it'll be episode 6, just aired, 7 the following week. Can't see it personally.
They won't ruin the finale that quickly. We will get other bits. We'll talk about Celebration.
Well, it'll be the one before. It'll be the one before the finale, which normally is a cliffhanger for the finale. So they wouldn't risk it. Kenobi, you could get away with episode 1 and 2. You couldn't in episode 3 of Kenobi because it was the Vader episode. So they're working around their audience, and they're not dumb in how they do that. Martin, have you watched Narcos yet? No, I haven't. I do want to watch it because I think when The Last of Us finishes, I'm going to watch Bad Batch. And then I've got a couple of shows I want to watch, and Narcos is one of them to complete the Pedro Pascal quadrilogy of TV domination because he's everywhere. And I've wanted to watch Narcos for years, even before he was cast in it. But let's talk the Bo-Katan stuff, because I almost misheard him say Mon Calamar. I know
same here.
He did say like Calamar, but it's not. It's maybe there's multiple ones. I don't know.
It's not Mon Cala.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Sorry, and I love that again. But I love the idea that there's a Mandalorian castle here, and I was like, oh, so all that trailer footage of Bo-Katan wasn't actually her in Mandalore on the throne. It was her at a random castle elsewhere, and I love the one scene we had of them. I still think she's going to end up being the big bad for the show. Certainly this season, I'd be very surprised if she isn't cutting some dodgy deals somewhere. But I love the idea that he's gone to her for help. He wants to join her. We know he needs to get to Mandalore. It's because everyone's left me. They've deserted me. I didn't get the Darksaber. You did. Now, put him on the spot, Phil.
Mm-hmm.
Is she lying? Or is she telling the truth?
No, she's telling the truth. She's telling the truth, but she's telling the truth in a way of everyone is being a mercenary because you do need the Darksaber to follow. I mean, going back to Rebels, when Sabine has it, well, they all kind of, you've won this fair and square, you have the right, and yes, she then gives it to Bo-Katan. How it then gets lost is another factor, but when you then wield that Darksaber, you wield the power. Mandalore is a culture very, very steeped in lore and history and politics. There's a culture very much steeped in the warrior mantra, with the samurai, the way of the warrior, and the way of he who is the strongest is king, and he who has power fears to lose it. And it's a very much that setup. And Bo-Katan is sat there, and you can see it on her face. She's a case of, you're the last person I wanted to see. I'm not going to help you. I thought, okay, fine. I'm going to give you the information you want, but you be my guest because that planet is a dust hole. Everything's gone. You are just wasting your time, and you have taken this from me. But I can't challenge you because I know you'll beat me, and I hate you for that. And it's very much a resigned factor. She gives him the information because he has the right, because he wields the Darksaber. That's her only way she's gone and given him it, in my opinion, is because she's sort of going, I respect it too much. If I didn't, I wouldn't be in this position. So it was very well played out, and I agree. I think she'll be the big bad, but I think it'll be for all the wrong reasons. I think that, unfortunately, it's Duchess Satine wanted Mandalorians to be united under peace. Bo-Katan didn't. Then she tried to do it her way. It didn't work out, and now she's sat there going, "I've got nobody and nothing," and he has got everything without even trying. What the hell? And it played off very well, but again, didn't expect it to be first episode. I thought it to be 2-3 in.
Exactly, and I think that's what's so surprising is that they're moving at a great pace whilst not being too quick. That for an episode 1, it covered everything we needed it to cover in a first episode of a new season. And again, it's hats off to them, Rick Famuyiwa for his direction. Favreau wrote this one as well, and I just can't wait to see what they're planning this season, because we clearly know this is going to be a very Mandalore-centric series, and that's a very dumb thing to say in a show called The Mandalorian. In episode 1, it was spoken about. We got potential flashbacks. Season 2, we got a bit more mythology about it. I think this is the series where we're going in now. We've got that Darksaber. It's equipped to him. There's a villain somewhere. There's Mandalorians popping up. There's a bigger story starting to take place, and it is going to involve that. And I cannot wait to see what else can happen. Coming from Dave Bolick, so Pierce definitely had feelings she's the bad this season. I could see it, and Katie Sackhoff has been at the forefront of marketing for the series as well, which I think is normally a very big sign. I mean, you've got Pedro Pascal, of course, again, very busy with The Last of Us, doing press for that as well.
Well, Giancarlo Esposito was around for a lot of it for season 1.
Exactly. And I think I'm not making predictions. I try to avoid stuff like that, but I really hope we get an insane prison breakout episode with him. They make the comment, right, that he's a tribunal.
Yep, the war tribunal.
And I'm just sat there like, and I don't want to. He planned to be caught, because that trope was done to death post Dark Knight, and everyone knows about that everywhere. And I think they're smart at this. Whether it's his loyal servants,
the look of fear on his face when he saw one X-wing show up, was enough to tell you, no, he thought he was Kingpin. He thought he was a made man, and it turns out he wasn't. And it was, it was big. It was big.
And this is how I see it as well. Is that for me, at least with something like that, we've seen him in the past. We've seen him come in, and he's had his moments. But that thing went around, didn't it? When the episode's like, this is the guy that was part of the Empire, the guy that knew a pilot and took out a Death Star, the guy that knew it was a Jedi that took out Darth Vader, the guy that knew that a Jedi took out the Empire. All of that was massive when you go back to the last episode. When you think how Giancarlo Esposito sold that moment is so important and is underrated. And I cannot wait to see him in this season. Whether he comes in for 1 episode, 2 episodes, maybe bloody 5 or 6, who knows? But again, they've used all that marketing already, so we don't have to sit there and think, oh, what episode is it going to be? Because it's not going to be. We don't know when it's going to be.
The only part of the trailers that hasn't been shown is Order 66.
Yeah, well, are we going to get it this time? Maybe. Who knows? It has cropped up a lot recently, but it's exciting. And as
well, it is a brand new scene for it, so you know it's coming. You know it's going to be different, but we'll get that. You know,
ignore me. Of course, I was sorry. Ignore me. I had my head in the car. I thought you were doing the meme where it's like you kind of sounds like Order 60, but no, you are absolutely bang on. We are going to find out, of course, who saved Grogu, if anyone. And whether that's for Ahsoka to be involved
I must admit, I thought we were going to get the flashback when we had the Purrgil, when he was staring out into hyperspace. And then we had the Purrgil, which I think is a very big calling for Ahsoka, because, of course, last season Rebels, you have the Purrgil there. It's very much tied in. Of course, the Purrgil take Thrawn and Ezra off to wherever they are. So that's your link right there.
No, that's a good point. I wonder when we're going to... here's a question. Do you think we're going to get Ahsoka in this series at some point?
Yes.
Yeah. I think we will. I'm going to be very intrigued to see what we do get with that. But kind of in turn with that, what we're going to do... because we've pretty much covered this episode. I don't want to sit here and say what do we think is going to happen in episode 2.
Well, you jumped over Space Whales. I had to come back to it.
Well, yes, no, we will. I mean... It's because it's just one of those wonderful Easter eggs.
So much to talk about, though.
I mean, I don't have a lot to say on it, but what I will say, there's a way to do a reference, and there is a way to do it with dignity, with class. To have the shot for me that sold it, it wasn't just like, Grogu looks aside and sees a whale. It was the scale of when we then got that established one, and there were multiple ones.
It wasn't N1.
Yeah,
got Fergal.
And it's not too in your face. It is not too in your face that, do you remember these from Rebels? It is to a normal person, this is just a thing in the sky with him. To people that see Rebels, it's, oh my God, it's this. I'm glad we don't get a close-up and go and see them and they were swimming and waving and crap like that.
Yeah, no sounds and nothing. It's just
it's how it should be. Yeah. And again, that's a moment. And that's, I think, how you do Easter eggs. That's how you do references. You're not there to do the Leo pointing thing. The audience are going to act like that, but you don't need to do that to them. Let them have their own intelligence and let people discover it for themselves, because maybe they're going to be important for when we get to Ahsoka and if we get Ezra.
The nicest way of doing that, though, was then Grogu going from his little cockpit into the main cockpit with Mando being asleep. There was no wake up, daddy, look at this kind of thing. It was a very much this is really pretty. This is really cool. I'm going to go to sleep now. It was just a very subtle... Here is a cool moment. Fans who know. If you don't, it's just a beautiful scene. Done. That's all it needs to be.
No, I am with you that 100%. But kind of in line with that, do we have anything else we've missed? Anything else we want to bring? Because we are going to.
The only thing for me to bring up was the scene back as a kind of brought up was these aliens, which I don't know if it's Babu Frick or not in there, but the hilarity of Grief Karga being on his hands and knees, translating from the outside, and then Grogu just giving them a bear hug. It's like, no squeeze, no squeeze. Again, funny little comedy moment, but it was just a brilliant scene to watch. And it's what I love about Star Wars is you can have comedy without being a comedy show. And it was a very nice little moment. The rest of it was fantastic. And as I said, the only thing that hasn't shown up in episode 1 that's in the trailers is Order 66. I don't think there's a single thing in those trailers that's cropped up that we haven't yet seen, which is even better than I could have imagined, because they've created a first episode that feels like a first episode, but also picking up. They haven't tried to do too much of a here's your backstory. They have managed to tell you the key plot points for the upcoming season. They have managed to set everything up without feeling like they've rushed a single thing. It's been one nice bit after mouthfuls off there, one nice bit after another. Go, here is where they are, what's happening. Here's your future threat with the pirates. Here's your future threat with Mandalore. Here is your future plot points We are here. Bing, bang, bong, done. It was perfect for an opening. And in the world of streaming, where same with box sets, same with things that's been done over the years, if you're watching this back, if you're watching this in 2-3 years' time, you're watching it all in one hit, it feels perfect in terms of a picking up point without it being too jarring. And as a starting season for a show in its current timeline where we are now, where we've only had that one episode after the year, then a bit break, it feels perfect. It was a very well written episode. I loved it from start to finish.
Absolutely, I love hearing that as well. And that's kind of my bit. I think it's a perfect way to get us back into it. We've been out for a couple of years. Bring us back in. We're interested. We want to know what's happening. And so do the people at home, the audience, the viewers. We're tied in these characters. We want to see where the journey's going to take them. And it brings us back into the fold in the best possible way without taking too long, without wasting a moment. We're in there to have fun. And that's exactly what it delivers and why we enjoyed this so. Phil, you've said a lot better than I can say it tonight. But that's how we're going to round out today's video. So we want to, as I said before, we want to hear from you. Please do comment your thoughts on The Mandalorian, Season 3, Episode 1, Chapter 17, The Apostate. What a mouthful, sorry. But I love the title suite. And that's one of the things I love about the show is that we don't find out their names until you watch it for the first time. And it's trying to avoid that from everybody else. So as we said before, we'll be doing these every single Wednesday. There's a lot of stuff happening on the channel. We're building up to the Oscars still. We've got The Last of Us spoiler discussions every Monday. We've had Creed 3 review drop in the night. There's John Wick coming soon. There's 65. There's a lot of things happening. It's going to be an insane year for film, for TV, for cinema. So we want to get everybody involved. If you want to find out about other videos, things that we can't talk about that we're working on, we always announce them on social media, Twitter and Instagram at cinema_savvy, Facebook and letterboxd.com/cinemasavvy, with a link to Redbubble in the description below. But as we said, Phil, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for people that have been commenting. It's a delight to talk Star Wars again. It's always a delight. And we're in for a pretty intense month. And Phil, for people that don't follow you, where can they get you on your TikTok? Not to give away what platform it is. And what have you got coming up?
So, you can follow my TikTok, which is at Phill009. So, PHILL009. At the moment, a lot of it's using the new business stuff. So my brand new 3D Ponding business. So you can find it on Facebook at 3D Ponding. Same for Instagram at 3D Ponding, where it's all my new 3D printed designed jewelry accessory business, which I've been launching. Of course, you actually have one of my pieces that I made as a Christmas present for you, Dave.
Very good. I've got it just in the corner.
Nice. But I will, of course, be posting things when I go to Adepticon in just over 2 weeks' time. So I'll be out in Chicago for that. We're posting a lot about what's out there as I play in the X-Wing World Championships. So, of course, Star Wars being that big influence of my life, I'm off to Chicago to play in the World Championships for a game that I love that's based on my favorite franchise. So can't wait for that. And then, of course, back for Star Wars Celebration literally 2 weeks after I get back. So I'm out for the 20th to the 27th. Then we'll have Celebration. Of course, we're posting all about that on there, as well as, of course, being on here. So the one episode I won't be able to do for the Mandalorian review, I will be in Chicago for. Actually, that'll be on the Wednesday when Adepticon opens up. So looking forward to that.
You're going to be able to watch it at, I would say a normal time. You'll be able to watch The Last of Us at a normal time if it's still on at that point. But one thing I've noticed is that, of course, we are going to obviously get these. Chicago is, from what I remember when I was over there, are they 6 hours behind us here?
Yeah.
So 2 a.m. in the morning for you to watch The Mandalorian. AKA, you can wake up and you'll be fine. But it is one of those kind of things that we don't get as much these days. It's a major trip. I know you played X-Wing in your life. Obviously, we've been doing it for many years. We've got Celebration. We've got a lot of Star Wars stuff we're working on. As we do with this channel, we cover the live-action Star Wars shows and weekly discussions. We have a Bad Batch review. There will be other stuff before Celebration I'm working on when there's formal details. Anything that announced Star Wars-wise, I'll probably do in these Mandalorian videos, but there will be some stuff before, during, and probably after Celebration, because I'm going there to see my friends, to have fun, to get nerdy, not to do videos, but there will be videos. It just is not going to be my weekend doing videos. And anyone that is going there, of course, stop by and say hello. A lot of friends of this channel are going to be there. Got the Imperial Senate podcast, Blue Banther Milk. Alden's going to be there. A lot of other people we know. There's a lot of names. Hakuna Matata, Elliot, Rensky, and so many people I know are going to go there. It's going to be an amazing few days. And I hope you get to see a lot of you there as well. So that's going to do it for today's review. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Again, Phil, once more, for joining with us.
No worries.
Martin's looking forward to the weekly live shows. I do appreciate that, Martin. But once again, thank you all for watching. And be sure to join us on the next one. Take care.
Bye.